This is Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores, the expansion that extends the scope of the core game after completion of the main mission of the game, where you're able to dive into a little bit of narrative extension. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So yeah, that's right, the adventure continues with Aloy there, and if you can't get enough of the character, you can head down to the remnants of Los Angeles, and you can, well, basically aim to find love in a hopeless place of, I don't know, tectonic activity and lava and everything like that. Essentially, I guess there was another bad guy somewhere else, and now you need to go and deal with that. And yeah, it's quite interesting. What was that all about? Okay, that was weird. So yeah, this is interesting. So I really like the main game of Horizon Forbidden West. I love the first Horizon game. Forbidden West maybe played it a little too safe here or there, but I did genuinely love it. And this expansion, I had some issues with this one. I don't know if it was a case of, wow, I'm just kind of like a little bit more burnt out from the gameplay than I thought, or what, because I was actually looking forward to diving back into this one for a while, and then when I finally got back in here, I was sort of like, I'd forgotten basically like the controls over a year, and yeah, some of the new weird, there's like a giant frog thing with acid, and it was just like, yeah, some of the machines were just a complete and utter pain within this game. So we're not diving into the technical details because, it is a DLC expansion, so if you do want, kind of info on how the game runs and everything like that, I do have a review of the core game up on the channel as well. But we're mostly here just to talk about the expansion and, what it has to offer. So it is, I think it's like several hours long. It's a pretty good chunk of time. You get to visit some new places. It's more like, if you liked Horizon Forbidden West and you didn't want to quite leave it yet, this is extra content for you to enjoy and play. Now, with that, I did find that it seemed to get a little bit more difficult, which was a little annoying. I don't know if my stuff just all of a sudden wasn't good enough, but yeah, it was a little brutal to deal with some of that stuff, and yeah, it was really quite frustrating. And you have like AI companion with you like the whole time, and there was some stuff she wouldn't, like, just refuse to kind of do some stuff for me, and it seemed like there was a lot less like kind of direction on what I was supposed to do in some areas, and I felt a little bit more lost than normal. And yeah, it was just it was a little, I don't know. I didn't necessarily love it as much as I did the main game. And again, that's where the kind of point is. I don't know if I'm just like tired of this gameplay loop, or if I just, I don't know, wasn't kicking. But for me, it was a little, yeah, I was a little frustrated with this one, that is for sure. So just maybe grind up a little bit to prepare, I suppose, perhaps. As, yeah, it was a little ridiculous. And I mean, the main game definitely had some areas here or there that was a little brutal to go through. But, yeah, no, this side DLC thing was just kind of really a bit of a frustrating romp for me, which was disappointing. And, there was also an area where you get, like, a cool thing like this, and, it was like, oh, we need to use the water to, like, dodge stuff, and then it's like, there wasn't really water and stuff, and I don't know. Anyways, if you like Los Angeles, there's still some recognizable structures somehow in a far future, and far future from the futuristic future where everything was like destroyed and stuff. So like, yeah, it's not really recognizable, but there's some like key locations and stuff like that that you can kind of visit. And it's a really like sandy, beachy area. And if you liked, there was a particular faction, I guess you would say, from like the main game. They're like the big focus of this one, and you've got like your potential, like, I guess you would say, close pal that you interact with across the story. So it's more of like a shared narrative this time around. So that should be a little different for people that are kind of wanting something a little bit new. But we should probably get off of our bird here so that you're not just seeing me fly around the whole time. But I thought this was kind of a good way to showcase, kind of the area of the game. Because it is gorgeous. I mean, this game is beautiful. I don't think you'll be too surprised by that in the slightest, the fact that this is like a really gorgeous game. But there's also like these annoyances of like combo things in this game too, where you've got like these, sentinel like, I guess you would say, swarm type drones in combination with other stuff, and it's really, really quite annoying to deal with. But you get some new toys and you get some new stuff, and honestly, some of it's a little too hectic, and by the end of it, I was just like really kind of frustrated and just kind of burnt out. I think is the biggest thing, is just complete burnout. So I'm hoping, by the time we do eventually get to see like, the third entry in the series, because I would imagine that there's probably going to be another one, right? They're teasing and everything's like that, so I'm sure by that point I'm hopefully being completely refreshed and ready to dive into that. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case, but yeah, I really did feel the burnout. Like, it's gorgeous, it's a majestic, beautiful little area, and it's a big landmass, but there's also like not a whole lot to do in it. Like, there's new stuff to hunt and that, but there's like not a whole lot of like side activities. Like, I think there's only like a few side quests, and like, I don't really necessarily do a whole lot of side questing when I play games, but if you're kind of looking for the landmass to be used a bit more, it's kind of like a really big place that they didn't really put a whole lot into, which is weird. It would have been nicer maybe to have a tighter landmass where there was more, I guess you would say, stuff going on within it. It's just, it's a bit odd for sure. And sorry, the controller makes a lot of noise, so I don't know if that catches up on the mic, but yeah. So again, the biggest thing is, did you like Horizon Forbidden West? Do you want more gameplay from it? Yes or no? Are you burnt out of it? Yes or no? That will impact your kind of interest in playing this. That's literally the biggest thing here. Do you want more of this game? Yes or no? And that's about it. The story structuring also feels a little bit more rushed, kind of like, there's a big focus between these two core characters, and I felt like a little bit more development between the two of them would have been nice, because it just kind of feels really rushed from a story romantic side aspect, because you can kind of like choose certain things, and I'm trying to dance around stuff not to spoil things, but I feel like that could have been developed further. Like, a lot of the relationships in this DLC just were kind of like quick, and you don't really, at least I didn't necessarily fully get the motivations of the new guy, and it was a little weird. I don't know, just didn't feel like the strongest of things. I also think from like a story standpoint, if you kind of skip this one and you just go into the third game whenever that comes out, assuming that is coming out, I don't think you're gonna necessarily have missed anything specifically. Like, I hope that doesn't sound like a bit of a a negative towards this. Like, it's it's decent, chunky DLC and expansion, but like from like a story perspective, it doesn't really change a whole lot. It doesn't necessarily set anything too crazy up. Like, it does give little teases of like things down the road to enjoy, but like I think you could pretty well just skip this and jump into the next one, and you wouldn't be like lost at all. You wouldn't be confused in the slightest. It really does feel like just extra content, which again, if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna be golden. You get like several hours of story content. Get more adventures with Aloy in a new place. You get to visit Los Angeles, which I think they also could have leveraged a little bit more in regards to like the old historical stuff. But yeah, it's generally a fine but kind of really frustrating and exhausting sort of like tedious thing. And I think I was mostly just really burned out of the content from the main game, diving into this one, and some of the enemies were a little ridiculous, and I was just kind of really sort of just tired and exhausted of the Horizon gameplay, which is a little disappointing. So I'm hoping that passion and excitement jumps up again when the third one comes down the road, because I'm very excited to see this story sort of probably conclude.